Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Deep Thoughts. And today we are talking about Fruits Basket episode 24, Let's Go Home. I am recording this immediately after seeing it. I am a little bit overwhelmed. I'm gonna try my best to keep my thoughts together, though I make no promises. But hey, before we get into my actual deep thoughts, I want to give a big shout out to those of you who shared last week's Fruits Basket video over on Twitter, namely at DarkfirePlayer4, at JNTheo21, at TenkoYai, at AnimeLover2427, at HaruTheWeeb12, and at Gray Likes Mochi. Thanks so much for sharing last week's video, you guys. It is super appreciated, and if you too would like to have your name shouted out in next week's Fruits Basket video for the final time this season, then be sure to share this video around on the internet and then tag me at JoJo Talks Too Much, and I will be sure to shout your name out in next week's video. Now, with that said, we are going to attempt to dig into this week's episode. Now, there are three big things to talk about in this week's episode: KYO'S history, Kazuma Soma, and the whole cat spirit shenanigans. Let's go ahead and start with Kazuma Soma, then we'll dig into a bit of KYO'S history, since that will lead nicely into the whole cat spirit thing. Now, Kazuma Soma, Kazuma desu. Okay, so maybe not that Kazuma, but it is kind of funny for me to remember that Jun Fukushima is actually in the show, Jun Fukushima having been the voice of Kazuma from Konosuba, so the fact that we actually have another Kazuma, who is the complete opposite of the Kazuma that I'm used to, does make me laugh. It does bring a smile to my face. Sorry, I don't know why I referenced that. Can you tell that my emotions are a little bit all over the place right now? I am trying to make myself laugh so that I don't start to cry. Kazuma Soma is an interesting cat, pun intended. He seems to be super well respected by the others. He's the one who taught them martial arts. They have this sort of reverence for him. And KYO, in particular, just idolizes this dude. Although I'm sure he's probably going to have some words for him in next week's finale. But, especially after everything that's happened. But it's, I hope he's not mad, because again, with Kazuma, I do think that the relationship he has with KYO is abundantly sweet. But he will always have KYO's best interests at heart, and that is firmly on display in this week's episode. He is super perceptive. The instant he saw KYO give Toru that look while they were walking back home, he just knew that, like, this is it. This is the girl. If there was ever going to be a time to have KYO face this, it's now, and if it's not now, then it's just never. And I'm willing to take that risk. Because even Shigure says to him, you are taking a huge risk by doing this, because if it fails and Toru is not the right person for this, if she can't accept him, he will hate you forever. Like, that's a huge risk, but this man's like, no, I'm willing to take it, because this man is a, like, parental figure to KYO, and he really does come across less like a teacher and more like KYO's dad in a sense. He really does seem, to me anyway, to be more of a parental figure than I've seen other characters have, even characters with parents, you know what I mean? Like, he seems to really genuinely care about KYO, to the point where he's willing to risk KYO hating him if it means that he tried to do something for KYO that would make him a better person overall. And Kazuma Soma, just top tier character. Very curious to learn more about him going forward into next season, because yeah, I've seen people say, like, is it getting another season? We've been new this show is getting another season. Do not worry, my friends. It's just taking a break for a little bit, but when it comes back, I want to see more about Kazuma Soma. I want to see a lot more from this character. I am really fascinated by this character. He seems so calm and collected and cool. I want to learn more about him. He could be on that husbando status. I'm not super sure. Right now, it's mainly Shigure and Hattori, but Kazuma has potential there. Next up, let's go ahead and talk about some of KYO's backstory that we actually get to dig into a little bit here. And we see that he is essentially totally shunned by the Somas, which is something we knew. We've known this for a long time. And it was particularly after the death of his mom, where the other Somas were saying, like, well, I don't blame her. Her son has the cat spirit. I guess that's what you get, and blah, 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 which is probably not something you want to say at the woman's funeral, you jerks, especially with her kids standing there, but whatever. And it's not helped at all when we find out that Akito is probably a big contributing factor to giving Kyo a complex about the whole, true form, although the true form on its own is pretty gnarly. I'm not gonna lie, that's scary. Like, when I saw it, I was genuinely like, okay, that is scary. I can understand why people would be afraid of Kyo in that form. And especially the fact that they say that it gives off like a scent. It's like, oh, that's, oof, poor Kyo. But like, to say like disgusting to him when you know that he's hurting is just further proof that Akito is just the worst. And what really kills me is that Kyo just felt full of sadness, like total, just complete and abject loss, losing his mom, but also knowing that his mom was avoiding the issue this entire time. So he doesn't even know what he's feeling other than probably just broken and lost. And the only way he can show it is by being hateful and angry. And Kazuma's the only one who saw right through it. And was like, no, I understand. And hearing just the words, I understand, and having somebody who is willing to try to tackle this issue with him instead of just avoiding it, and showering him with love, even though even though there's a clear issue that needs addressing, Kazuma's the only person that he had known up to that point who was willing to do that with him. And it's probably what further ties Kyo to Kazuma. And let's talk about Kyo's mom here for a brief minute. I don't necessarily feel like it's fair to say that Kyo's mom is a bad person. I think she did the best she could, but was unaware that she was hurting Kyo. I don't think she meant to hurt Kyo on purpose. To Kyo, it came across as fear and shame, and it likely was a bit of both, if we're totally honest. But I do think that she cared about Kyo. She just wasn't sure how to demonstrate that, especially given that the situation is pretty intense. So any parent would just attempt to try to avoid the subject, but all it did was make Kyo confused and feel shamed that his own mother couldn't even really look at him at times. Like, it's just, I don't know. Kyo is a character I've always liked. In fact, I'd say that Kyo is a character I've always loved. But this just really amplified that by 10. Like, I will protect this boy. I will protect Kyo from the world. Even though he'd probably end up protecting me, but you know what I mean. And finally, we're gonna go ahead and talk about the cat spirit. Now, this is the moment that I think everybody was telling me, listen, man, you gotta be ready, because when it hits, it's gonna hit. And I knew something was up, because I remember somebody saying, do you feel like there's something going on with Kyo? Because I had said, there's a secret with Kyo, but I don't know what. And people are like, just keep an eye on things. Keep an eye on that wristband / rosary. Something you may want to keep an eye on. So I kind of figured, okay. So there is a true form to Kyo that we are not, totally made aware of. I believe Kagura in the past had mentioned it, but it was so long ago that I had forgotten. So I had a feeling something was coming up. But to quote the doctor, I was not expecting this. This is a lot, man. This is a lot. This moment, this entire scene. I'd say this scene, even though it takes up, I'm pretty sure, basically the second half of the episode. This is a lot to take in. This is, I can't keep repeating the word a lot, but it really was a lot. Kyo had claimed to accept this part of him, but he really doesn't. He's seeking to blame anybody else because he can't even really confront he can't accept himself. So he'd rather blame the world for making him feel this way, because he feels an utter lack of control. And he feels as though he's undeserving of love because of just this hideous form that he can't control. I'm assuming he can't control. I don't super know. But just the fact that he has this form at all makes him feel undeserving of any kind of attention or love, and he feels a complete lack of control in his life because of these forces that have thrown this curse upon him. In fairness, that adds up. I understand why he feels that way. It's not like he's being childish about it. Like, that totally makes sense. Everything that I know about Kyo would lead me to that assumption for him, and it's how he feels. Like, it's pitch perfect writing, because it's absolutely how he would feel. And Toru's response, I think, is unbelievably well handled, because she is so clearly shaken by this. It's not like Toru does the whole like, oh, it's Kyo and blah blah blah. Like, she doesn't tackle this in the way that maybe anybody who thinks that the show is just Toru fixes the show, and it's just like nothing but the same thing over and over again, would be shocked by this. Because Toru, a part of me thought like that she was just gonna be like, everything's fine, Kyo. It's not fine. It's scary and intense, and she is so clearly shaken that I'm pretty sure she like throws up at one point, like, because it's so intense. And she says, like, a sight I've never seen, a smell I've never smelt. Like, this is a lot to take in. And he doesn't even sound like Kyo anymore. And everybody, and like, not just Toru, everybody is rattled by this. Like, everyone in the house is so clearly shaken up by this, including me, and likely everybody watching. This is a shocking moment, and I feel like even if you knew it was coming, this was handled in such a way that it must still be intense. It's a lot of emotion that they pack into this scene, and it is by far some of the most palpable emotion I've felt all season. Not just Fruits Basket. I mean the entire season. Like, this is intense stuff. What I love about this, and to me this is peak Kyo, peak Toru this episode, because Toru is scared. She even says as much. She's scared, she's confused, she has no idea what's going on. But what she does know is that inside of there is Kyo. That's the boy she knows. He's in there somewhere. And she refuses to let go because she just wants to continue to live life with him. And I gotta say, I was asked recently if, and I've been asked this a couple times, like, what my ships are. And because at the beginning of the show, I had said that I was a Yuki Toru fan. This was maybe like episode 2 or 3. I later became like a Yuki Hatsuharu fan. And I sort of thought that Kyo and Toru was cute, but that's as far as it went. This is the ship right here. This is the, I don't want to say it's the OTP, but it has high potential to be. And that moment of let me continue to live my life with you, and Kyo melting down back into like the Kyo that we know, and that hug where he just holds her, man, what a beautiful moment. What a beautiful scene. Completely nailed it. I loved it. I don't know if that's not obvious by now, but I'm still sort of shocked to my core. Like, I'm actually shaken by this episode, but it was so beautifully done. And this really felt like it could have been the finale, like, especially when the ED started playing without like just the song, not like the visuals, and like the episode kept going with the ED backing it, and Toru coming back to the house, to the Soma household with Kyo in her arms, was just phenomenal. That could have been the finale. That could have been the finale right there. I have no clue what the finale is gonna be after that, but that could have been it right there. This is just, oh my goodness. I'm gonna stop the video here, but needless to say, I obviously really loved this week's episode. It's an S. I know I just gave an S to Astra this week, but like, how could I possibly not? This is an S rank episode, no doubt in my mind. Absolutely. It's so impressive, beyond amazing. Just what a great episode. But hey, before I take off, as always, I have to give a big shout out to the good folks over on Patreon, namely those in the Earl Grey tier: Calvin Atkinson, Crowbar of Irony, Dominic, Urza, Ginkotaku, No For Nothing, Maria Teresa, Mirth Mouser, Nye, Omner Garamond, Cell, Shadow Creative, Sipco Games, Somastan, Steven, Tristan, and Veridin. Thank you all so much for your continued support over on Patreon, and if you too would like to join the T Squadron, then by all means go ahead and check out the first link in the description, check out our Patreon page, and see all the cool rewards you can get over there, as well as access to our Patreon exclusive Discord, where I am sure that we are screaming about Fruits Basket right now. But on that note, everybody, that's going to be a video. So I hope you all enjoyed today's video, and if you did, you've probably been on the internet long enough to know what to do already, so I ain't going to tell you, but I will say that it is appreciated. And if you're feeling stressed out today, and after this week's episode, I wouldn't blame you, then you be sure to have yourself a warm cup of tea. And I will talk to you all again real soon.